Today, let's talk about metabolism. Your metabolism is simply all of the actions that your body takes to create energy. It's just the sum of all those actions. You can affect your own metabolism by doing things like working out and expending energy, but your body also has things like protective measures. So if you go on a really strict diet and you drop your calories down really low, your body will look for ways to preserve energy, preserve homeostasis. This is why you feel things like fatigue or hunger when you're dieting. You can think of your metabolism a little bit like a profit and loss statement from a business. The top line revenue is all of the food that you take in. That's everything you bring in. Underneath that, you'll probably find cost of goods sold. This is what we call the thermic effect of food. So even though that food provides that revenue, provides calories for us, it costs a little bit to break down. Then we get to our normal expenses. Things like rent, utilities. That's what we call our basal metabolic rate, because that's just what it costs to keep the lights on. So it doesn't matter whether you're sleeping or going to work or exercising, your basal metabolic rate is always firing. Then we get to things like exercise thermogenesis, and that's the energy that you expend doing things like running or strength training. And then we also have something called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And these are things like moving your arms while you're talking in a video or walking around the house or going to work. One of the big problems with metabolism that we see with folks is what we call the binge-fast cycle. Real quick, before I continue, this is not a video about eating disorders or disordered eating patterns. If you or someone you know has a problem with food or an eating disorder, it's more appropriate that they go find professional help from someone who's qualified, not myself. So when it comes to regular people, one thing we see a lot is what we call a binge-fast cycle. It happens in two ways typically. The first one is across the day. Folks will start the day off and they'll go through this period of relative fasting. They're not fully fasting, but what they'll do is they'll skip breakfast, maybe just have some coffee and a light lunch, and then we'll get to our relative binge at night, where we'll eat a lot more, knowing that we didn't eat much during the day. But this ends up being a problem because typically at night, folks will find that they more than make up for all of the food they didn't eat during the day because they're just so hungry. One of the big problems here too is that when we go through these fasting cycles, your metabolism will try to correct and reduce its energy output. So a lot of times you'll find yourself tired. You might find that your workouts suffer and your non-exercise activity will probably go down. So you'll probably expend less energy during that fasting cycle through the morning, the afternoon than you think you do. And for that reason, a lot of people find themselves spinning their wheels if they're not spreading their food out enough because they don't eat much, they're very tired, they get to dinner time and they're very hungry and they eat more than enough to make up for all the calories that they thought they missed during the day. This also happens during the week. Folks will be really good from maybe Sunday night, Monday morning, all the way through about Friday afternoon, and then Friday night hits and work's over for the week, and a lot of people tend to go through the weekend and binge and more than make up for all the good choices they made during the week. So they got their fruits and vegetables in and their water and they did their workouts, but then they go to the weekend and they're just so hungry and so overtired from all the work they put in that week. They end up binging and more than making up for the dent they made in their calories during the week. This is important because it causes folks to spin their wheels when it comes to improvement in fitness. And it's not just for weight loss. It could be for performance. Maybe you want to get better at something in the gym. It's very hard to do that if you're going through fasting cycles, not eating quite enough and feeling lethargic when you get to the gym. It also hampers muscle gain. If you're trying to put on strength and lean mass, it's very, very difficult to do that if you're not eating enough most of the time. So, how do we fix this? There's two things we can do. The first thing is about mindset. We need to get out of the mindset of things being black and white. You can't expect to get results if you only know the switch to be on or off. And what that means is we can't go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and have all these great days, but then spend the next 3 days undoing all the good work we've done. We need to allow ourselves to more thoughtfully plan out our days and plan out our weeks so that we are nourishing our body with energy so that we have energy to live life, so that we have energy to do workouts, so that we're not so hungry when we get to dinner and feel like we have to overeat to compensate. We need to be able to find the gray area a little bit. And a good example of this is finding foods that are in your 20%. 20% foods are those foods that maybe aren't so good for us. Maybe we like them, but maybe they don't contribute as well to our fitness goals like the other 80% do. It's important that we incorporate those things into our diet for long-term sustainability. The second thing we can do here is a little more practical, and it's trying to spread your food out. Doing things like making sure we're eating protein throughout the day, eating fiber throughout the day. These things are not so much about the macronutrients themselves, but they're about the fact that they incentivize us to eat food throughout the day. And it prevents us from feeling tired when we're in that relative fasting cycle, or binging and overeating when we get to that relative binge. We spread our food out a little bit better, and you'll have more energy, your workouts will be better, and you'll get better results long term. Going back to our example about the P&L, if we think about our metabolism and all the food that we bring in, when your revenue is low as a business, what do? We cut expenses. Your body does that by trying to reduce its energy expenditure. And when we have revenue that's much higher, what happens? We create a lot of profit. And profit's not necessarily a good thing in the body, because profit in terms of calories means body fat, but it's important that we keep our profit at least up with our expenses. And all that means is you have to fuel your body. And so change your mindset, get out of that black and white idea that you can, fast yourself through the week and binge on the weekends and it will all work out to weight loss or performance. Let's work on spreading our food out better. And I think you'll find that you get much better results.